If this sound reached your heart, hit subscribe. More music like this drops every week. A crane transfers the load from the truck to the building. The truck carried it across the country, but the crane lifts it to the floor where it belongs. And God is the crane of your life. You carried the weight across the distance, but the transfer happens now, because the load was never meant to stay on the truck for long. The load transfer says the truck did its job. The carrying was necessary, but the crane takes from here, because the truck can't reach the height where the load belongs. Cast your burden on the Lord, and the casting is the transfer. The moment the crane hook grips the weight and the truck exhales, because the carrying is done and the song. The truck has been carrying the load for miles. The axle bends, the tires wear, but the crane just arrived at the site, and the hook is descending and the prong. And the load transfer says the truck was never meant to hold the weight permanently. The carrying was the delivery, and the crane handles the placement and the strong. Cast your burden on the Lord. The load transfers tonight, and the crane that lifts the weight from the truck is stronger than the truck that carried it across the miles in the light. The load transfer, the truck carried the weight, but the crane takes it from here, because the load was never meant to stay on the axle permanently. The load transfer, the hook descends, the cable grips, and the weight that bent the truck lifts off, because the crane reaches the height the truck can't see evidently. Cast your burden, the transfer, and the exhale of the truck when the weight lifts is the relief that proves the carrying was temporary, not the identity. The load transfer, and the God who operates the crane just gripped the load, and the truck that was bending just straightened, because the weight transferred to infinity. The load transfer lifted the weight from Moses. The carrying of 2 million people shifted to 70 elders, and the truck exhaled and the crane held and the root. The load transfer lifted the weight from Elijah. The carrying of Jezebel's threat shifted to angel bread, and the truck rested and the crane fed and the fruit. The load transfer lifted the weight from Jesus, not transferred away but transferred through. The cross was the crane that lifted the sin of the world to the absolute. And the load transfer says every exhausted truck in the Bible met a crane, because God doesn't leave the weight on the vehicle that delivered it and the pursuit. Your crane just arrived, the hook is descending, and the weight that bent your axle for months is about to lift, because the transfer is the design and the recruit. The load transfer says let the hook grip, the cable is strong, and the crane that takes the load reaches heights the truck could never dream of. And the tribute, the load transfer, the crane grips the load and the truck exhales, because the weight was never meant to stay on the vehicle that carried it. The load transfer, the hook descends, the cable holds, and the carrying is done, because the crane handles the placement and the spirit. Truck carried, crane lift The load transfers, the weight shifts, axle straightens, tires breathe. The load transfer brings relief. The load transfer, the crane just gripped the weight in the truck that bent for months straight. And because the load lifted and the carrying ended and the placement began. The load transfer, and the God who operates cranes just took the load from my shoulders. And the weight that was mine is now his, and the plan. From every mile I carried thinking the truck was the final destination, not knowing the crane was waiting at the site to lift what the truck delivered to the man. The load transfer complete, and the truck breathes, and the crane holds, and the weight is placed where it belongs, not where I carried it across the land. The load transfer, the load transfer, the crane takes it from here. A weld joins two pieces of metal into one. The heat melts the edges, and the bond that forms is stronger than the original pieces, because the weld point exceeds the base metal. And God is welding pieces of your life together, the career and the calling, the pain and the purpose, the break and the healing. The weld that joins them is stronger than either pedal. The weld point says the heat was necessary. You can't weld cold metal, and the fire you went through was the torch that softened the edges, so the pieces could bond and settle. What God has joined together, let no one separate. And the joining is the weld, the bond at the fusion point that holds tighter than the original metal. Your pieces look separate, disconnected, unrelated, but the heat joined them, and the weld point where pain meets purpose is the strongest part of your vessel. And the weld point says the bond that forms in the fire exceeds the strength of the base material, because the fusion produces a new alloy and the wrestle. What God has joined, let no one separate. The weld point fuses tonight, and the heat that joined the two pieces produce the bond stronger than either piece alone in the light. The weld point, the fire joined what was separate, and the bond at the fusion is stronger than the original pieces, because heat produces what cold cannot. The weld point, pain welded to purpose, and the joint where they fuse is the strongest part of my structure. And the dot, what God joined the weld, and the heat was the torch, and the fusion was the bond, and the pieces are one in the night. The weld point and the God who welds just fuse the disconnected pieces, and the bond exceeds the base metal and the plot. The weld point fused Joseph's pain to his purpose, betrayal and throne joined by the heat of 13 years, and the bond produced a prime minister. And the weld held, the weld point fused Ruth's grief to her destiny, widowhood and royalty, joined by the heat of loyalty. And the bond produced a lineage and the meld. The weld point fused Paul's persecution to his mission to Damascus. He joined the persecutor to the apostle, and the fusion produced epistles and the bond is stronger than either piece alone. Because the fire joined what was separate, the weld point.
The heat was the torch,
And the fusion produces a new alloy that exceeds the original. And the desperate two pieces,
one fire,
the weld joint,
one's what I admire.
stronger than
The base alone
the weld point.
sets the tone.
The weld point, the fire joint, the pieces and the fusion.
And the bond is stronger
Then either piece was separately, because the heat produced a new alloy.
the weld point.
And the God who welds just fused my pain to my purpose. And the joint where they meet is the strongest point of my story. And the joy from every disconnected piece I carried, not knowing the fire would join them, and the weld would exceed the base metal and the ploy. The weld point
Fused in the bond,
holds and the pieces are one. And the strongest part of my structure is where the fire joined what was separate and being point. The weld point, the weld point, the weld point, fused in the fire. An intake valve opens to let fresh air into the engine. Without it, the engine suffocates on its own exhaust, and the combustion that keeps the machine running stops. And God just opened the intake valve of your life. The engine was running on recycled air, stale thinking, old patterns. And the fresh air entering changes the combustion. And the crops, the intake valve says the engine didn't need more fuel, it needed fresh air. Because the combustion requires oxygen, and the recycled air produced weaker and weaker explosions. And the drops be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the renewing is the intake valve, the opening that lets fresh thinking replace the stale patterns that clog the tops. Your engine has been suffocating, running on the same recycled thoughts. And the combustion weakened because the oxygen ran out. But the valve just opened and the props, and the intake valve says fresh air is entering, new perspective, new truth,
new oxygen.
and the combustion that follows the fresh air exceeds what the recycled atmosphere could produce. And the stops be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
The intake valve
Opens tonight, and the fresh air entering the engine replaces the stale patterns, and the combustion strengthens in the light.
The intake valve,
Fresh air entering the engine,
the intake valve,
and the combustion strengthens.
the intake valve.
Because the recycled thinking is being replaced by new oxygen.
The intake valve,
The engine was suffocating
the intake valve,
on old patterns, but the valve opened,
intake valve
and the fresh air
changes the combustion.
and the toxin renewing of the mind.
The valve,
Then the transformation starts when the stale air is replaced by the fresh
and the boxing.
the intake valve. And the God who opens valves just let fresh air into my engine, and the combustion that follows exceeds what the old air produced. valve open for Abraham.
Fresh air of a new land.
Replace the stale atmosphere of yore,
And the combustion of faith.
ignite it stronger and the form. The intake valve open for the disciples at Pentecost. The rushing wind was the fresh air,
And the combustion
of the Spirit replaced the stale fear and the norm. The intake valve open for Paul after Damascus.
fresh vision.
Replaced the stale religion, and the combustion of grace exceeded what the law produced, and the storm. And the intake valve says every transformation in the Bible
Started with fresh air.
because the engine can transform on recycled atmosphere and the swarm. Your intake valve is open,
The fresh air is entering.
and the engine that ran on stale
Thinking is combusting at a level.
the recycled air never reached, and the reform. The intake valve says
Breathe the new air.
the fresh oxygen changes,
The combustion.
and the engine that was dying on its own exhaust just received life and the transform.
The intake valve.
Fresh air replaces,
The stale and the combustion.
strengthens, because new oxygen entered the engine.
The intake valve.
The renewal starts with the valve opening,
And the fresh air.
changes everything about the engine.
Stale air out.
Fresh air in, the valve opens,
New life begins.
old patterns leave, new oxygen flows. The intake valve is how God grows. The intake valve, the fresh air just entered,
And the combustion strengthened.
and the engine that was dying on
Cycle thinking.
is running at full power because the
Oxygen changed.
The intake valve and the God who opens valves
Just replace the stale atmosphere.
with fresh truth, and the engine transformation is arranged from every recycled thought I breathe, not knowing the intake valve would open and fresh air would change the combustion completely and the exchange. The intake valve open, and the air is fresh, and the engine runs stronger, and the combustion exceeds what the old atmosphere could ever produce, and the range. The intake valve,
The intake valve.
fresh air changes everything.
Stay. The best song on this album is still ahead. Subscribe so you never miss one.
A deadbolt locks from the inside. The person inside decides what enters and what stays out. And the bolt that slides is the boundary between the chaos and the calm. And God just handed you the deadbolt, the authority to lock the door from the inside, to decide what enters your peace and what stays in the storm. And the sound, the deadbolt says the boundary is yours to set. The door doesn't lock itself, and the hand that slides the bolt is the hand that protects the room and the bomb. Above all else, guard your heart, and the guarding is the deadbolt, the boundary that slides shut when the chaos tries to enter the room of peace and the calm. Your door has been open, everything entered, every voice, every opinion, every crisis walked into your peace uninvited. But the deadbolt just slid, and the calm, and the deadbolt says the room is yours, the lock is yours, and what stays inside the bolted door is protected by the boundary you set, and the unbound. Above all else, guard your heart. The deadbolt slides tonight, and the boundary between the chaos and the calm is the bolt I just locked from the inside in the light. The deadbolt. I just locked the door from the inside, and the chaos that was entering my peace uninvited just hit a boundary it can't cross. The deadbolt. The authority to decide what enters and what stays out is mine, because the bolt slides from the inside, not the toss. Guard your heart. The deadbolt. And the room behind the locked door is the peace that the boundary protects in the boss. The deadbolt. And the God who gave me the bolt just said lock it, and the chaos that owned the room just lost its access and the loss. The deadbolt locked for Nehemiah. The enemies tried to enter, but the walls were the bolt, and the city was protected because the boundary held and the gate. The deadbolt locked for Daniel. The culture tried to enter, but the window toward Jerusalem was the bolt, and the identity was protected and the straight. The deadbolt locked for Jesus. The crowds tried to define him, but the withdrawal to prayer was the bolt, and the peace was protected and the great. And the deadbolt says every protected piece in the Bible had a boundary, a bolt that slid from the inside, because the person inside decides in the faith. Your deadbolt is in your hand. Slide it, the chaos stops at the door, and the room behind the boundary is the peace you've been giving away. And the way the deadbolt says lock it, the room is yours, the peace is yours, and the chaos that entered uninvited just met a bolt it can't negotiate. And the trade, the deadbolt, the bolt slid, and the chaos hit the boundary, and the room behind the locked door is mine, and the peace returns. The deadbolt. I decide what enters, and the authority is the bolt, and the boundary is the God, and the turns. Slide the bolt, lock the door, the chaos stops, it gets no more. The room is mine, the peace is set. The deadbolt is the best bet. Oh, the deadbolt, the bolt just slid, and the chaos that was walking into my peace uninvited hit a locked door, because the boundary is mine, and I said it tonight. The deadbolt, and the God who gave me authority to guard my heart just said the bolt is yours, and the room behind the locked door is the peace worth the fight. From every open door I left unbolted, letting every voice in crisis enter my peace, not knowing the deadbolt was mine to slide in the right. The deadbolt locked in the room is protected, and the peace returns, because the chaos met a boundary, and the bolt holds, and the might. The deadbolt, the deadbolt, the room is locked.
A deep well takes longer to dig, but the water it reaches never dries. Shallow wells run dry in the first heat, but the deep well feeds the village through every drought and the quest. And God has been digging a deep well in your life. The digging took years, But the water the well reaches is the water that never runs dry. And the best, the deep well says the long digging season was not wasted time. Every foot deeper was a foot closer to the water table that feeds forever and the rest. Whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst. And the water is the deep well, the source that the long digging reached. And the test, your well went deep,
Deeper than the neighbors,
deeper than the fast wells. And the water that rises from the bottom is the water that outlasts the crest. And the deep well says the digging that took the longest produces the water that lasts the longest, because depth determines the permanence and the nest. Whoever drinks will never thirst. The deep well reaches water tonight. And the source that the long digging found is the water that feeds forever in the light. The deep well, the digging took years, but the water it reached never dries, because the depth exceeded the drought and the floor. The deep well, shallow wells dried in the first heat,
but the deep well
feeds through every season, because the source is permanent and the core never thirst.
the deep well,
And the water rising from the bottom is the water that outlasts everything the surface could pour. The deep well, and the God who digs deep just reached the water table. And the source that flows is permanent and the door. The deep well fed Israel for 40 years. The rock was struck deep and the water that poured out lasted the desert, because the source was underground and the find. The deep well fed Jacob at Haran. The well where Rachel appeared was deep, and the water that flowed changed a man's life, because the depth reached what was designed. The deep well fed the woman at the well. Jesus dug past the surface to the living water that springs up to eternal life, because the well was the deepest kind. And the deep well says the most permanent provision in the Bible came from the deepest wells, because shallow water runs dry, but deep water is a sign. Your deep well is producing, the water rises, and the source that the long digging reach feeds what the shallow wells dry up, trying to mine. The deep well says the depth was the investment, and the water that flows from the bottom is the return, and the return is permanent and refined. The deep well, the water never dries, because the depths reach the permanent source, and the long digging was the investment.
the deep well,
Shallow wells dry,
but the deep well feeds forever, and the settlement dug deep
water found the source below,
feeds the ground.
shallow dries, deep endures. The deep
Well,
forever pours. The deep well, the water just rose, and the source is permanent, and the digging that took years reached what the shallow well could never touch, and the provision never stops.
the deep well,
And the God who digs deep just reached the water table, and the well that feeds from here is the well that never runs dry, and the tops. From every year of digging, thinking the bottom would never come, not knowing the depth was the investment, and the water at the bottom is permanent crops.
the deep well,
Reached water, and the source is forever, and the digging was worth every year, because the deep well outlasts the drought and the drops.
the deep well,
The deep well,
the deep well,
the water never dries. detonation is the moment the charge ignites. The fuse burns down, the timer hits zero, and the explosion reshapes the landscape in 1 second of force that exceeds years of erosion. And God has been running the fuse of your life,
inch by inch,
burning closer to the charge. And tonight, the timer hits zero, and the detonation reshapes the terrain and the motion. The detonation says the fuse was the patience, the burning was the waiting, and the explosion that follows the zero exceeds what gradual erosion could produce in the ocean. For I am about to do something new, and the new is the detonation. The moment the charge ignites, and the landscape that was flat suddenly has mountains and the emotion. Your fuse has been burning,
you could feel it getting shorter,
and the timer is counting down the last seconds before the charge ignites.
and the devotion,
And the detonation says the explosion is not destruction, it's terraforming, reshaping the landscape of your life from flat to mountainous in 1 second of divine commotion. I am about to do
something new
the detonation ignites
tonight.
and the fuse that burned for years just reached the charge, and the landscape reshapes in the light.
A detonation,
The fuse reached the charge,
detonation,
and the landscape reshapes in 1 second, because the explosion exceeds what years of gradual erosion.
detonation,
The timer hits zero,
detonation,
and the terraforming begins, and the flat terrain suddenly has mountains, because the charge was designed to rebuild and build something new.
detonation,
And the explosion that follows the zero is not destruction but creation, because the force reshapes what the patience feel.
detonation,
And the God who lit the fuse just watched it reach the charge, and the landscape of my life just permanently changed, and it's thrilled. The detonation reshaped Abraham. The fuse burned 25 years, but the explosion of Isaac created a nation from a flat barren landscape and the blast. The detonation reshaped the Red Sea. The fuse burned 400 years, but the explosion of the Passover night split the ocean and freed a nation from the past. The detonation reshaped the tomb. The fuse burned 3 days, but the resurrection explosion terraformed the landscape of death and life and the contrast. And the detonation says the biggest explosions in history follow the longest fuses, because the charge stores energy proportional to the burning and the cast. Your detonation just ignited, the fuse reached the charge, and the flat landscape is being reshaped right now, because the explosion exceeds what the gradual could amass. The detonation says the landscape will never look the same. The mountains rising from the explosion are permanent, because the charge that got set was built to outlast.
the detonation,
The fuse reached the charge,
detonation,
and the landscape reshapes, and the mountains rise from the flat, because the explosion,
the detonation,
the timer hit zero,
detonation,
and the waiting produced the charge, and the explosion exceeds the erosion and the noise.
fuse burn,
The timer zero,
the charge ignites,
a divine hero.
flat to mountains,
1 explosion, the detonation is the promotion.
the detonation,
The charge ignited,
the detonation,
and the landscape is reshaping, and the mountains rising from the flat exceed what years of gradual,
change could produce,
because the explosion,
terraform,
the detonation, and the God who lights fuses just watch the charge go off. And the flat terrain of my life is permanently mountainous, because the force exceeds
From every inch of burning fuse I watched, not knowing the charge was getting closer, and the explosion would reshape the landscape in 1 second of the swarms.
The detonation
ignited and the mountains rise, and the landscape is permanent, and the flat terrain is gone, because the charge was designed by the one who controls the storms. The detonation,
the detonation,
the detonation,
the detonation.
The landscape
just changed.
The detonation.
The slack line is a rope that hangs loose between two posts. It bounces under your weight, and the walking requires balance, not speed. And the wobble is the design, not the defect. And God has you on a slack line right now. The ground feels unstable, the balance shifts, but the line holds, and the wobble is the learning,
not the reject.
The slack line says the instability is the teacher. The muscles that develop from the wobble are the muscles the solid ground never builds, and the intellect. The Lord makes my feet like the feet of a deer, and the deer walks on unstable ground, because the balance was built for the wobble, not the flat and the effect. Your footing feels uncertain, the ground beneath your feet bounces, but the slack line holds, and the balance developing in the wobble is the strength the steady ground couldn't collect. And the slack line says the wobble is the training. The instability produces the strongest balance, and the feet that learned on the slack line walk steadier than the feet that only knew the flat and the inspect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. The slack line balances tonight, and the wobble that feels like instability is the training that produces the strongest balance in the light.
The slack line,
the ground bounces under my weight, but the line holds, and the wobble is the teacher, not the threat. And the core,
the slack line.
Instability produces the strongest balance, because the muscles that develop from the wobble can't be built on the flat floor. Feet of a deer,
the slack line,
and the balance learned on the unstable rope exceeds the balance of the person who only walked on steady ground. And the door,
the slack line,
and the God who stretches ropes between posts just said walk, and the wobble is the training, and the balance developing is the strength. And the more the slack line trained Abraham, the instability of leaving everything familiar built the balance of faith that walked with God. And the stable, the slack line trained Peter on the water. The instability of the waves built the balance of keeping eyes on Jesus. And the label, the slack line trained Paul through shipwrecks. The instability of the ocean built the balance of contentment in every circumstance. And the table, and the slack line says the strongest walkers in the Bible learn balance on the most unstable ground, because the wobble builds what the flat can't enable. Your slack line is building your balance right now. The wobble is the teacher, and the muscles developing in the instability will carry you on ground. The
The slack line says keep walking,
The line holds.
and the balance you build from the wobble produces feet that walk anywhere. And the candle, oh, the slack line, the wobble is the teacher, and the balance developing exceeds what the flat ground could produce.
The slack line.
The instability trains and the feet that learn on the rope walk steadier than the feet that never wobbled. And the truce line bounces, feet balance, wobble trains with balance, not flat ground, but rope walking. The slack line keeps me talking. The slack line, the wobble just produced the balance, and the feet that learned on the unstable rope now walk steadier than the feet that only knew flat ground. The slack line, and the God who stretches ropes just said the instability was the training, and the balance developing in the wobble is the strongest I found. From every wobble I thought was falling, not knowing the instability was building the muscles the steady ground could never produce. And the sound the slack line held in the balance grew, and the wobble was the teacher, and the feet that walk from here walk anywhere on any ground. The slack line, slack line, slack line, the wobble built the balance.
A booster rocket provides the extra thrust needed to break through the atmosphere. The main engine can't do it alone, and the booster fires at the critical moment, then falls away when the job is done. And God is attaching a booster rocket to your life. The main engine brought you this far, but the atmosphere you're breaking through requires extra thrust and the run. The booster rocket says the boost is temporary. It fires at the critical moment, provides the extra force, then detaches. Because the main engine takes over once the atmosphere is won. I will strengthen you, I will help you, and the help is the booster. The temporary extra thrust that fires at the exact moment. The main engine needs the assistance of the sun. Your atmosphere is thick, the resistance is high, and the main engine that brought you this far is not enough for the breakthrough, but the booster just ignited and the begun. And the booster rocket says the extra thrust is God, the temporary surge of power that fires at the critical moment, and the atmosphere that was impenetrable just broke because the booster outran. I will strengthen and help you.
The booster rocket fires tonight.
And the extra thrust that breaks the atmosphere is the temporary surge from God that fires at the critical height.
The booster rocket.
The extra thrust just fired, and the atmosphere that was impenetrable is breaking, because the main engine received the surge it needed.
The booster rocket.
Temporary, powerful, precise. The boost fires at the critical moment, and the resistance that held me just exceeded and receded.
I will help you.
The booster
And the extra
thrust from God fires when the main engine can't break through alone, and it's succeeded.
The booster rocket.
And the God who provides thrust just ignited the booster, and the atmosphere is breaking, and the resistance is defeated. The booster fired for Moses at the Red Sea. The main engine of faith wasn't enough, so the staff was the booster that provided the thrust, and the part split. The booster fired for David against Goliath. The main engine of courage wasn't enough,
So the stone was the booster that provided the extra force in the hit. The booster fired for the disciples at Pentecost. The main engine of prayer wasn't enough. So the Spirit was the booster that broke the atmosphere and lit. And the booster says every breakthrough in the Bible required a temporary boost, because the atmosphere is too thick for the main engine alone and the grit. Your booster just fired. You can feel the extra thrust, and the atmosphere that held you back is thinning, because the surge from God exceeds what the main engine could transmit. The booster says the breakthrough is now.
The atmosphere breaks,
And the main engine takes over.
once the booster does its job and the fit.
The booster rocket, extra thrust firing and the atmosphere breaks.
Because the surge exceeds the resistance.
The booster rocket, temporary, powerful, precise.
And the breakthrough happens at the moment of the assistance.
Main engine plus the boost. The atmosphere comes loose. Extra thrust at the right time
The booster rocket,
is the climb. The booster rocket,
the atmosphere just broke.
because the extra thrust from God fired at the critical moment, and the resistance that held me couldn't match the surge. The booster rocket, and the God who provides boost just ignited.
The extra thrusters,
And the main engine takes over from here, because the atmosphere is cleared and the verge. From every atmosphere I couldn't break through alone, not knowing the booster would fire at the critical moment, and the surge would exceed the resistance and the merge.
the booster rocket,
Fired,
and the atmosphere broke.
and the main engine carries from here,
Because the booster did its job.
and the surge cleared the scourge. The booster rocket,
The booster rocket,
the booster rocket. The atmosphere just broke.
Share this with someone who needs peaceful music today. This sound was made to be passed on. Oh. A rain barrel sits under the gutter and collects what falls from the roof. The rain that was heading for the ground is caught and stored, and the barrel feeds the garden when the sun returns. And God placed a rain barrel under the gutter of your life. Every tear that fell, every prayer that poured was collected, not wasted. And the barrel feeds what grows when the season turns. The rain barrel says the rain was not lost, it was collected. And the water stored in the barrel during the storm is the provision that feeds the garden during the drought. And the urns, you store my tears in your bottle, and the bottle is the barrel, the collection point where nothing that fell is wasted. And the water feeds what the sun burns. Your rain barrel has been collecting the tears, the prayers, the worship, all stored. And the garden that the barrel feeds is the garden that blooms when the dry season returns. And the rain barrel says the storm was the collection season, and the barrel that filled during the rain feeds the garden during
during the sun, because the stored water sustains what the drought concerns. You store my tears in your bottle. The rain barrel fills tonight, and the water collected during the storm feeds the garden during the drought, because nothing that fell was wasted in the light. The rain barrel, the tears that fell during the storm were collected, not wasted, and the barrel feeds the garden when the dry season comes. The rain barrel, the rain that was heading for the ground was caught and stored, and the provision during the drought is the water from the storm. And the drums, you store my tears, the barrel, and the collection during the rain is the feeding during the sun, because the barrel holds what the gutter caught and the sums. The rain barrel, and the God who places barrels under gutters just said nothing was wasted, and the water stored feeds what grows when the rain is done. And the crumbs, the rain barrel collected Hannah's tears, years of storm water stored, and the barrel fed Samuel, because the collection was the provision. And the poor, the rain barrel collected David's songs, storm water poetry stored, and the barrel feeds the church 2,000 years later, because the collection exceeds the floor. The rain barrel collected Jesus' Gethsemane, sweat like blood stored, and the barrel fed the salvation of the world, because the collection was the deepest pour. And the rain barrel says the most productive gardens in the Bible were fed by barrels filled during the worst storms, because the collection is proportional to the downpour. Your rain barrel is full, the storms filled it, and the garden that grows from the stored water will be the most abundant, because the barrel caught everything. And the storm, the rain barrel says the storm was the filling season, and the garden that feeds from the barrel during the drought will exceed everything the rain season garden produced and more. The rain barrel full from the storm, and the garden feeds from the stored water during the drought. The rain barrel, nothing was wasted, and the collection feeds what grows. And the sprout, storm fills, barrel stores, the garden feeds when the sun pours. Nothing wasted, every tear caught. The rain barrel is what God wrought. Tears that were collected during the rain are the provision. Drought, the rain barrel, and the God who places barrels under gutters just proved that nothing was wasted. And the storm was the collection, and the garden feeds without doubt. From every tear I thought fell on empty ground, not knowing the barrel caught every drop. And the stored water would feed the garden during the dry bout. The rain barrel is full, and the garden grows, and the tears were the water, and the storm was the filling, and nothing was lost, and nothing fell out. The rain barrel, nothing was wasted.
Keystone Bridge stands for centuries without mortar. The stones press against each other, and the keystone at the top locks them all in place. Remove the keystone and the arch falls, and God is the keystone
of your bridge, every stone of your life presses against the next, and the stone at the top holds everything in position. And because the Keystone Bridge says the stones don't need glue, they need the keystone. And the arch that stands without mortar stands because the top stone distributes the weight to the walls. In him all things hold together, and the holding is the keystone, the stone at the top that keeps every other stone from falling. And the halls, your bridge has stones pressing against each other: career, family, faith, health. And the keystone at the top is God, and without him the arch collapses and the falls. And the Keystone Bridge says the bridge stands not because the stones are strong, but because the keystone distributes the weight, and the stone at the top holds all the costs. In him all things hold together.
The keystone locks in tonight,
And the bridge that stands without mortar stands because the top stone holds every other stone in the lights. The Keystone Bridge, the arch stands because the stone at the top locks every other stone in position, and the weight distributes through the span. Yeah, the Keystone Bridge, no mortar needed, because the keystone does what glue cannot. And the bridge holds under traffic that the individual stones can't withstand on the plan. In him all things,
the keystone,
and the bridge of my life stands because the stone at the top is God, and the weight distribution is the man. The Keystone Bridge,
and the God who
is the keystone just
locked in,
and the arch holds and the bridge carries traffic because the top stone holds the clan. The keystone held Abraham's bridge, the stone at the top was the promise, and the arch of a nation stood because the keystone distributed the weight of barrenness. And the arch, the keystone held David's bridge, the
stone at the top
was the anointing, and the arch of a kingdom stood because the keystone distributed the weight of persecution. And the march, the keystone held the church's bridge, the
stone at the top
was Christ, and the arch of 2,000 years stood because the keystone distributed the weight of empire and the parch. And the Keystone Bridge says every standing bridge in the Bible had God at the top. May the arch without the keystone collapses under its own weight. And the starch, your keystone is in place,
God at the top,
and the bridge holds under traffic with the weight distributes through the arch, and the arch doesn't march. The Keystone Bridge says the bridge stands not because the stones are exceptional, but because the keystone at the top is God, and the weight distribution exceeds the arch. The Keystone Bridge, the arch stands because God is the top stone, and the weight distributes and the bridge holds. The Keystone Bridge,
no more to need,
because the keystone holds
what you cannot,
and the bridge unfolds.
one stone
At the top the arch holds,
it won't stop,
no mortar,
just
the Keystone Bridge
sets me free.
the Keystone Bridge,
The arch holds,
and the traffic crosses, and the bridge that stands without mortar stands
because the keystone
at the top is God, and the distribution exceeds the load.
the Keystone Bridge,
And the God who is the keystone just locked into position, and the stone was pressed,
and the arch holds,
and the bridge carries what the road. From every bridge I watched collapse, not knowing the keystone was missing, and the stone at the top did
determines whether the arch stands or the node. The Keystone Bridge
holds and the arch stands,
and the keystone is God,
and the weight distributes,
and the bridge carries everything across, and the code, the Keystone Bridge. The Keystone Bridge,
the top stone
holds everything. A low pressure system brings rain. The air drops, the clouds form, and the water falls. And the fields that needed rain receive it, because the low pressure produced what the high pressure held back. And God sent a low pressure system into your life. The dropping was real, the heaviness was genuine, but the rain that falls from the low produces what the high season could not unpack. The low pressure system says the heaviness in the air is the sign of rain,
not the sign of death.
and the clouds that form in the low season are the clouds that carry the water and the track. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And the weeping is the low pressure,
The heaviness
that produces the rain that the morning needs. And the crack, your low pressure system is producing rain. You feel the heaviness, the drop in the weight in the air, but the rain that falls is the provision the field needs and the stack. And the low pressure system says the heaviness was the weather pattern that produces what the light season couldn't, because the rain only falls when the pressure drops and the back.
joy comes in the morning.
The low pressure brings rain tonight, and the heaviness that drops the air is the weather pattern that produces the water the field needs in the light. The low pressure system,
The heaviness
produce rain in the fields that needed water,
receive it,
because the low pressure
deliver
what the high held back. The low pressure system, the dropping the weight, the clouds,
not death.
but delivery. And the rain that falls from the heavy sky is the provision and the track.
Joy comes in the morning.
The low pressure and the rain that the heaviness produces is the water the morning needs to grow. What the drought attack, the low pressure
System
and the God who controls weather,
set the low to produce the rain.
and the field drinks, because the heavy sky delivered and the packed. The low pressure produced rain for Hannah. The heaviness of barrenness was the system, and the rain that fell was Samuel, because the low delivered and the poor. The low pressure produced rain for Israel. The heaviness of slavery was the system, and the rain that fell was freedom, because the low delivered and the door. The low pressure produced rain for the early church. The heaviness of persecution was the system, and the rain that fell was global expansion, because the low delivered and the floor. And the low pressure system says the most productive fields in the Bible were watered by the heaviest skies, because the rain only falls when the pressure drops and the core. Your low pressure is producing the rain falls, and the field that was dry receives what the heavy sky carries.
pressure. The dropping was the weather, and the rain was the provision, and it's delivered. Heavy sky, rain falls, the low pressure feeds it all. Not death, but delivery. The low pressure is the mystery. The low pressure system, the heavy sky just rained in the field that was dry as drinking, because the heaviness was the delivery system, not the punishment. The low pressure and the God who controls weather sent the low to produce the rain, and the morning that follows the heavy night receives what the rain sent. From every heavy season I cursed, not knowing the low pressure was the weather pattern that produces rain, and the fields needed what the heaviness meant. The low pressure produced the rain, and the field drinks, and the morning comes, and the joy follows the weeping, because the low delivered what the high pressure prevented. The low pressure system, the heaviness brought the rain.
Every journey ends with an anchor. The ship arrives, the chain releases, the metal bites the ocean floor, and the anchor says the sailing is finished, and the rest begins. And God is dropping the final anchor of this season. The chain releases, the metal descends, and the ocean floor receives the weight that says the voyage is complete, and the winds. The final anchor doesn't mean the ship never sails again. It means this voyage is done, this stretch of ocean is behind, and the harbor that receives the anchor is the new beginning, and the spins. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, and the anchor is the final word on the voyage. The metal in the ocean floor that says the storm is over, and the grins. Your final anchor is dropping, the chain releases, the metal falls, and the ocean floor that catches the anchor is the solid ground beneath the deep water, and the bends. And the final anchor says rest, the sailing is done, the storm is behind, and the harbor that receives the ship has been prepared since before the first wave and the twins. We have this hope as an anchor.
The final anchor drops tonight,
And the metal that bites the ocean floor says the voyage is complete, and the rest begins in the light. The final anchor, the chain release, the metal drop,
and the ocean floor
receive the weight that says this voyage is done, and the rest begins here. The final anchor, the sailing is finished, the storm is behind,
and the harbor that
holds the ship has been prepared since before the first wave appeared. Hope as an anchor,
the final
and the metal in the ocean floor
is the period
at the end of the sentence that says this chapter
is complete and clear.
the final anchor, and the God who drops anchors just released the chain, and the metal bit the floor, and the ship rests because the voyage is done, and the
Atmosphere,
The final anchor dropped for Abraham at Isaac. The voyage of 25 years hit the ocean floor. and the ship rested in the harbor of fulfilled promise and the scope. The final anchor dropped for Israel at Canaan. The voyage of 40 years hit the ocean floor, and the ship rested in the harbor of the promised land and the hope. The final anchor dropped for Jesus at the resurrection. The voyage of 33 years hit the ocean floor, and the ship rested because the anchor said it is finished, and the rope. And the final anchor says every voyage in the Bible ended with metal on the ocean floor, because the anchor is the proof that the sailing is done.
And the code,
Your final anchor is hitting the ocean floor right now. The metal bites the ground, and the voyage that felt endless just received its period, because the chain is out.
and the slow,
The final anchor says the ship rests, the harbor holds, and the ocean floor that catches the metal was prepared before the first wave rose.
and the troll,
The final anchor, the metal hit the ocean floor,
and the voyage is done.
and the ship rests in the harbor that was prepared.
The final anchor,
The chain is out,
the sailing is finished,
and the storm is behind.
because the anchor declared.
Chain releases,
Metal drops,
the ocean floor.
the sailing stops.
The voyage ends, the harbor holds. The final anchor is pure gold.
The final anchor,
The metal just bit the ocean
floor,
and the ship that sailed to every store just came to rest.
because the voyage is complete and the harbor is home. The final anchor,
And the God who drops anchors,
just release the chain,
and the sailing is finished.
and the rest that follows.
The anchor is the deepest peace I've known. From every wave I've sailed through, thinking the ocean had no floor, and the anchor would never drop, not knowing the harbor was prepared, and I was never alone.